to be talking with the fabulous Vaneese Johnson about how you can use technology tools as well as just processes in your business to spend more time doing the work you love and less time doing the busy work. So that's what we're talking about today. And as you know, we're always here on Career Thought Leaders, bringing you the now, the new, and the next every Trend Tuesday. And as I said today, we have the fabulous Vaneese Johnson with us. And Vaneese, you help people be bold, big, bad, bold in their work. Tell us a little bit about how you got into helping people with these processes. What spurred this being part of what you do?
Yeah, so hi everyone. I'm just super excited to be here. And I'm so happy, Marie, that we are delving deep, like specifically into this topic of running a coaching business. And I think I can speak for probably a lot of the participants who are listening in is that, you go through coaching programs and you learn how to be a fabulous coach. And then you leave that program and you're like, okay, now what do I do? How do I set up a business model? How do I leverage technology to grow my business? How do I maximize my earnings with minimal effort? And I went through some of those, other areas, including how to build a business brand. So I got to thinking if I am struggling with this, then perhaps my colleagues also may be struggling. And I've spent years and I know some of them can echo on this. I have spent years really trying to find, the way to, systematize and streamline the coaching process. And so once I was able to do that, then I had the chance, Marie, to come to the CTL conference and speak and present a workshop around what that looked like, where you are coaching less and making more money by using systems and processes.
Yes. And what I love about this too is that some of the processes not only help us work less, but they also help our client do more.
Mhm.
And they put the client more in the driver's seat of the process so that they get better results, right? It's like this win,
Yeah.
win, win.
Yeah, it's a win-win because I am a solo practitioner and even if you have, a couple of people on your team, one of the things I think we find that kind of bottlenecks the growth in our business is that we are one person. And, it's easy to say, you should spend some, these days and times for administrative hours. Then you spend these times coaching. Then you spend these times business development. Then you spend these times marketing.
Yeah,
So
right. Yeah, drop a note in the chat if that works for you, right? I mean, that doesn't work.
it just doesn't work. And I was finding myself like not able to do business development. Here's what I mean. I would get a speaking opportunity and I would be from the stage speaking, and I also might have a vending opportunity at a conference. And then people would give me lots of business cards, right? And then I would be like, okay, great, I'm going to call this. Oh my God, I want to work with you, And then as time progressed, I'm exhausted from the meeting. It's been a long day. I'm probably at a networking event after the conference that day. And then I'm ready to get back home. There's travel. So life is happening, right? And then you get back to your office, you're behind on your emails. I mean, I know this is ringing somebody's bell. And you're like, well, I want to call people back. I want to email them back. But when do I have the time? Because I'm trying to catch up. So, what I was able to do with my system that I developed for myself, but now for other coaches, is that when I'm talking on the stage, I literally can tell people to go to my website, go to work with Vaneese, go down to the bottom of the page, click start your coaching with me. Let's start your boldness journey. And then that will put people into a workflow. So I am not the person who is solely responsible. I invite the client or the prospective client to join me on this journey of responsibility and accountability. And Marie, it just takes so much stress off. So now I get emails, saying that I have a prospect, and so it's easier for me to connect and follow up with them. And so that freed me up so much to actually be present where I am in the physical sense and not in my head worrying about, oh my goodness, how am I going to be able to do this? How am I going to be able to do that? When am I going to call this client back? So this system just helped out so much to be able to do that. Now I'm like, okay, I can actually enjoy the conference.
Right, and I think it's funny, I don't know if you get these, I'm sure you do, but in LinkedIn, you get these messages of like, "Could you handle X amount more clients?" And I know some of us are like, "No, like, I
Yeah,
don't have the processes, I can't do that. I'd like to help more people, but if I have 10 clients, that's about all I can manage in terms of the follow-up and the staying in touch and the making sure they're doing things and and so it's figuring out how to automate all of that that then you don't necessarily have to take on more people if you don't want to, but you could take on and help more people,
yeah.
or you could have some time to do other things, help people in different ways, create a class, have a vacation, right? Do something else in your life,
Yeah. How about that? How about that you started this business in part so that you could have a level of freedom?
right?
Wow.
Right.
Wow. And I know that some coaches are probably thinking, I would like to have that. That is a reason I started this business. But how do I get the freedom? You mentioned something really key, Marie, and we can put a bow on this is like how to set up an efficient business model that really works for you and your business. And I found myself, as a coach, like really being there to handhold my clients. You said about following up with the client to make sure they're doing what you agreed upon doing. So I took myself out of the loop, but I was able to do that with a process in my business that allowed me to be able to step back. And so now the way that I coach now is that the client really takes on, I would say about 97% of our coaching relationship, it's in the hands of the client. And that's what it's really about. We want our clients to really be able to see results immediately, in their business or their career or whatever they're coming to you for coaching. And so with the system that I created, I was able to do that. And so that also allowed me and the client to be on the same page. So instead of in the coaching session spending 20 minutes trying to catch up
Right.
and only have maybe about 25 minutes to 30 minutes for a coaching session, now as the coach, I come to the session and we spend about 5 minutes catching up, and then we can dive right back in and pick up where we left off and start the check-in that moves us into the coaching delivery process.
Right. And this could be simple. I mean, we talk about this in our coaching classes that you have a form that goes out to people 2 days ahead of your meeting. I like 2 days because then you can do a follow up the day before if they haven't turned it in, and you can automate all of that. So I can have a form that goes out to people 2 days ahead of time. We're meeting in 2 days. What have you worked on? I know you've got a bunch of questions you ask.
Yeah.
Then a day before, if they haven't filled it out, you have a trigger, you have an automation, it goes out and says, we still don't have your form. I want to be able to be prepared for our meeting.
Mhm.
Please, share this little bit of information with me. One, it makes people show up, right?
Yeah.
Because now they've got a
Yes.
2 day reminder, they've got a 1 day reminder. Two, they show up because they know you're moving forward. And
Yes.
three, as you said, now it's more on them, but not in a negative way, in
No.
this really positive way.
Yeah, in a really positive way. They are part of the process, not just from the coach being there helping them to answer, deep questions and open-ended questions, but they're part of the relationship. They have an accountability component, not just to the coach, but to themselves.
Right.
And so they now have a way, the client has a way to be able to create the accountability that they want from the coach. Because like you just said, you can send out a form, that's great, and a lot of coaches have done that before. And you're like, okay, I emailed this to the client, I hope they get it to me in time. Did you email it to me? I don't know if they emailed it to me, maybe it's in my spam folder. Like
Right.
there's this whole hamster wheel moment that's happening, and you're like, I really want to be prepared, but I don't know if the client sent the information. So in the system that I created, the client, everything's done in the system, and the system reminds the client, you know,
Right.
to send the system says to the client, did you complete X, Y, and Z form? And then it reminds the client, and then the client does it within the system and hits enter, then the system tells me that the client has sent it on. And the other thing from an accountability standpoint, when I don't receive that form by the said time that we agreed upon in the client engagement agreement, then there's an opportunity to reschedule the meeting, because it's like, listen, this is really important. And in order for this relationship really to be as effective and help you, client, get the results you want, there's going to be a level of participation that you are going to need to commit to. And so, and it just takes the pressure off the coach with, again, trying to figure out, trying to remember, trying to find the notes, trying to pull something together, trying to just move forward. And it's just really is not efficient or effective for the client or the coach.
Right. Yeah, and I love this. Somebody said the client needs to take responsibility and accountability. Yes, and as you
Yeah.
said, accountability to themselves, not to us. And that's a lot of also what I like about the system and the automation
Mhm.
is that they know it's automated, but in some ways that's good because it's not that they're accountable to you. They're
Right.
accountable to themselves, and the system is just helping them hold themselves accountable to
Yes.
themselves.
Yeah.
And it takes away
Yes.
some of that power differential too.
Yeah. The other thing that the system does is it has a client portal within the system that I created so that the client can go back and look at, prior information they've submitted to me. So if a client says, "Oh, I want to get this invoice because I want to put it, for my taxes, because I'm investing in career coaching and or professional development, right?" And then they're emailing me, "Can you get me an invoice? Can you send me a copy of the invoice? Can you?" And as the coach, you're looking at the email like, I want to get it to the client. It's not on the priority list, but I don't want the client to feel like it's not a priority. So, with the system that I use, the CRM system I use, it has a client portal, where the client can actually be able to go in and get their own receipt. The client can go in and download a copy of their contract. The client can go in and download videos, sessions that they've had with me. So that way, again, it allows me, the coach, to show up and coach, but it gives the client freedom to be able to go and find what they need when they need it. So that way they take the onus, of their growth and their development. It's a good return on investment for them.
Right. And I know you use some tools, but I'll also just say if anyone else is watching and you want to drop a tool that you use, there are a lot of different tools that do this. As you said, a lot of customer relationship management programs are doing this, some course development, course delivery type programs. Venice, what type of program are you using?
Let me say this first because I saw that question come through. There are a myriad of CRM systems that are out there. So I'm going to be talking about this specifically in the boot camp that's coming up, what I've used. I'm also going to be showing the flow, how to create, a flow system, like a client experience, for your clients. And then you can build your system around that. And I hesitate to say that for that Facebook user. Thank you. That's a really great question to put out there, because what happens is sometimes people will run to a system and then they'll sign up for a system and they'll be like, okay, great, I got the system. Now I can do all those things. I actually had to customize the system. So, what I will be talking about in the boot camp, the 2.5 day boot camp that's coming up, I'll be talking about, again, how to create, the client experience. So that way you can be able to say, okay, no matter what CRM system I use, these components are going to be important to have built into the CRM system so that I can be able to coach less and work less and to coach more. So
Yeah.
that's the way that I want to leave it, because I'm telling you, listen, I have tried and paid so much money on systems that somebody else used, but what they didn't tell me was how to customize what to put in the system to really make it efficient.
Right. I mean, last year we went through Kajabi. I've gone through Dubsado. I use a CRM now called Funnel Streams, and Funnel Streams is great. We're still using it, but you
Hmm.
have to set up your process. You have to set up your flow. Then you have to execute the flow. And our challenge at Career Thought Leaders is that we have 12 different certification programs, and most of them run both on demand and live. So I've got
Hmm.
28 different flows just for our certification programs.
Hmm.
Like, yes,
Hmm.
right? And so it
Yeah.
takes some
Yeah.
time to set those up. And obviously, Venice, we're going to walk people through the first one, the most important thing that they want to
Yeah.
do for their clients based
Yeah.
on how they work with people. But that the system is not the answer.
Nope.
And I think you're right. People want the system to be the
Hmm.
answer. They want a system
Yeah.
to like be that knight in shining armor and just come
Hmm.
and rescue
Hmm.
them from all of this. And it doesn't work that
No.
way. You have to create
No.
the workflow, the process, the messages. You have to create all that no matter what system you use.
Yeah. And I think the other thing, what's important is starting to understand what you need in your system. That's another big thing is that when we don't know what we need, we don't know what the system is capable of doing for us. So being in the room, in the conversation around how you can discover what you need so that as you start to, review systems, then you can start to ask those really important questions. Will the system do this? Will the system do that? And then that'll help you to decide, what types of systematic tools you may need, whether that's one tool or if you may need to what we call tech stacking. Perhaps it's one part of the tool, one tool does this component, another tool does another component, but you get them to talk to each other. So that way the flow process continues. So that's what you get to, to really be clear about. And I'm going to be talking about that in the boot camp. I'm going to tell you for whoever's listening, when I did this workshop at CTL, we had a 3 hour workshop. It was packed. Remember, Marie? The room
Oh yeah.
was like packed, and people were taking notes. And even till this day, I just had, I think I shared with you, Marie, I just had um, probably maybe about 3 weeks ago, one of the participants, I'm going to be a guest on her podcast coming up in September. She said to me, Venice, I am still using that information you gave to us back in March. She said it was gold and how it has transitioned her business. There was also another participant in the room who had a CRM system, but she was like, I just didn't know how to maximize it. And being able to share with them how to create that, the first part of that, the client journey component, she sent me an email and said, OMG, we now are getting a return on investment for our CRM. I didn't even ask her what CRM she's using, but just the fact that this information is so powerful that you still, it's like the gift that keeps giving since March. And I can just imagine what that will do for the future of their business going forward.
Well, and that's what I love about it is that most
Mhm.
people probably have a tool or two or three sitting around, and
Or
let's
four.
use those tools you've already got versus going out and get another one. Let's use those tools that you've already got
Mhm.
because it's likely that they would do some, if not all of this. I mean, some calendaring systems will do a whole bunch of this for you just in a calendaring system, right?
Yeah.
But it's just
Yeah.
setting up the workflow.
Yeah, it's setting up the workflow. And like a lot of practitioners, I was like, oh, that's what I need a workflow, but not really understanding, again, what will that look like in my business? And, what is it that I need inside of that? Because it's one thing, even if someone were to give you a framework of a workflow, because surely I can just pull a diagram up and say, you do this, 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 right? And then and say, all you do is fill in the gaps. But instead, you're going to be learning what components are important to have in that process. And so in the boot camp, one of the bonus items that you'll be leaving with if you sign up for the boot camp, you're going to be leading with a client welcome packet. And in that packet, it will really set you on the right path for your workflow. But also I'm going to be talking about how to build a really efficient business model even if you've been in business for a while. Let me tell you all something. I've been in business almost 28 years full time. 28 years, Marie. And I have been through different iterations of business model. And so now with the coaching industry really booming, like in an unprecedented way, you don't have the time or the learning curve to try and figure this out. Like we have to be as career practitioners, as coaches, we have to be able to move right now at the speed of technology, and we need business models that allow us, or a business model that will allow us to be able to move at the flow of how technology is evolving, because our clients are smart and savvy. So we really do need this for to help you with your business.
Well, and that's the other thing. We were talking about why these workflows and processes and using some of the automation. I think sometimes we think automation is going to be a negative, right? It's going
Yeah.
to go out, it's going to mess things up. I'll tell you that just today, just today, I sent an automated message to people that was the wrong one because we had new class, new workflow, blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah. and I copied and pasted, which we got to work on our process there. But
Mhm.
that bad message went out and people responded, hey, this is the wrong thing, but it still kept the communication going. And
Yes.
so, yes, you'll make
Yes.
mistakes when you automate, but I
Hmm.
would say those automation mistakes are better than no communication, right?
Yeah.
They're better
Yeah.
than we're meeting today and I haven't followed up with you in 2 weeks since we met last time.
Hmm.
Even a wrong message in between there somewhere is better than nothing. And so
Right.
I think we kind of give ourselves the excuse of, oh, I'm not going to do automation because I'm not
Hmm.
ready yet.
Hmm.
You just got to get going. It's going to make you look
You
better to
gotta
your
get,
clients, gonna keep
yes.
the communication going and all those things.
And it's a way for the client, it sets the tone for the relationship, the kind of relationship you're going to have with your client. Because your client is living their life from a certain level of automation. Like we all have our phones. And as a professional, this is your mini pocket computer with you. And so your clients are going to be looking to communicate with you through their phone. And if you are the bottleneck in your business of that communication flow happening, then you may find yourself struggling to build that connectivity with your client, and or it may give your client the out for following up quicker, sooner, faster with you because they just didn't have a way to do it on a time that worked for them. Some clients, they don't contact me until after business hours. Sometimes it's 10 o'clock at night. Sometimes it's early Saturday morning. But because of the system that I use that allows my clients and my business model to contact me, I don't have to stress about it.
Right.
I give the client the freedom to be able to respond to me. I still respond to them on, through normal business hours and business days. But just the fact that I can give my client that freedom to do that while I enjoy my weekend is huge.
Right. Well, you said we have this boot camp coming up. It starts next Wednesday. We're
Yes.
going to go through, and why we did a boot camp is because we want you to be able to take some action and follow through. So,
Mhm.
one webinar is great, but that it just doesn't give us the same as being able to go through and follow through. So, we're going to get to walk through in 3 days, 4 days, what we do to really put this into place, right?
Yes. Yeah. And the boot camp is 75 minutes. Like it's not like you got to commit to 3 hours, 5 hours, all day. It's really, I've zeroed it down to the nuts and bolts. So 75 minutes, just really think about just that piece to get this level of information from someone who's in your industry, that's tried and true. I've made the mistakes in advance. I've been through the learning curve in advance so that I can zero in and give you specifically the good juicy stuff that you can then be able to walk away and implement. This is not a boot camp where we're talking and not giving you what you need. We're going to give you what you need so you can then go and implement it and be able to circle back to us and say, you know what, this has shifted some things in my business.
Yeah, I love it. Well, people jump on there, register, join us for the boot camp starting next Wednesday, Wednesday, the 23rd of August. We'll look forward to seeing you there. And the great part is if you sign up now or in the next few days, reach out to us. Tell us what you want to hear. Tell us what you want to learn. And, we'll send it on to Vaneese and we'll get the boot camp really tailored to what people want to learn. And one of the questions that one of my members had this morning
Mhm.
was, what do you automate and what don't you automate?
Yeah.
And so we'll talk about that in the boot camp too, when to automate, when not to automate, or when you might do a combo of the two. So you automate, but then you do some manual follow up too.
Yeah, and I, like you said, Marie, thank you so much for putting that request out there to send what you want to know. It's not that I don't know the subject, that's not even close, but I am the kind of trainer, I am the kind of instructor who is really a partner with you because there may be something that I think is important to talk with you about, but there may be something that you really want to hear. So I want to understand and hear from you if there's something that you like, Vaneese, this is really, kind of got my back up against the wall, or I continually run into this challenge. So what, thoughts or ideas do I have around A, B, and C, X, Y, and Z? So we want to make this collaborative so that way, again, you feel like it's a great use of your 75 minutes. And each one of the boot camp sessions will be 75 minutes, but you're going to have some homework at the end. And I think you're really going to get a lot out of it.
I look forward to it. All right. Well, we will see Venice again on next Wednesday, and I hope we will see you there at the boot camp. And I'll be back here next Tuesday to talk about some other trends. And thank you so much for joining us, Venice. And I can't wait to work on my own processes too during the boot camp.
I know. So super excited. So super excited.
All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next Tuesday.